good morning, and very good morning. Welcome to the show. Welcome to VUEGRAPHY. Today's topic is about composition, the photography composition that we are making. So, what exactly I'm going to talk about the composition? Well, to be very honest, it's one of my weakest aspect about my photography. Like 3 years before, I used to struggle a lot with my composition. I had no idea what to do or what kind of composition I have to make or I had to make in order to make uh, impacting images. I really had no idea. But then 3 years ago, I came across a book. I was in Dubai Mall with the family, and I went to a bookstore, a big bookstore, and that's where my kids were there. They used to buy books for themselves. So I was just wandering around in one of the photography section. That's where I saw a book named "Read This If You Want to Take Great Photos of Places." There were two identical books with two different titles. One means they look the same. Read this if you want to take great photos of places, and another book was read this if you want to take great photos of people. These were the titles literally of the two books. So I picked that book called read this if you want to take great photos of places. So I took it, I started reading it, and I was like, somehow the examples that were given in that book was intriguing. The author, who basically took different photographers' pictures and he just put those pictures into his book, and he explained why these images are so different or so much like interesting when it comes to composition, and explained very briefly. And I liked that part because it was to the point. The text that the author wrote about the images was to the point, and I immediately hooked to it. And I'm kind of a guy who become very quickly bored from if I have to read any text from a PDF or even from a website. I just want quickly to go through it, and I feel bored. To be very honest, I feel really bored when it comes to reading texts. So I was like, okay, and I bought the book out of my curiosity, and I finished the book in 2 days. I found that book so interesting. So, and after reading that book, I started looking the world in a different way. And I'm the same guy whose photography was not so good, but now I'm getting different feedback over the same amount of images. Like not in the same way, but I think now I just realized that I created a style of my own. You take sunset, I take sunset. You take street photography, I take street photography. You do bird photography, I do bird photography. Uh, you take portraits, I take portraits. Like you make black and white images or videos. I'm recording this right now. Black and white is specifically for a reason. And the thing that I'm just mentioning all these things that you do this, I do that, but I do it a little bit differently. Like for the bird photography, I have few examples I'll put on the screen. These images I took in a different way. Like I think my style is more kind of artistic, not the commercial. And I try to make images which, from the compositional perspective, in a way that let people eyes stick to it for more than 2 seconds. This is the harsh reality that people don't know that we have seen thousands and thousands of images every day through Instagram, through Facebook, through Twitter or Flickr or 500px or UPIC or you just name it, and we just go through those images, same images from the different group all the time. So why we like one particular image? We just scrolling through our mobile phone like crazy and then stick to one image. Why we stick to it? And the reason is first the light, second the composition. These two things grab our attention immediately. Once we see interesting light, we stop scrolling. Once we see after the light, we notice that the composition, we like the image. Or if we like the light and composition and the colors or any beauty in the image, we are forced to write comments splendid, beautiful, gorgeous, blah blah blah. So that's how we as a viewer give the feedback to the photographer who uploaded the image on social media. Alright, so that's how it is. But how I went from zero to a level right now where I'm getting feedback from people who doesn't know me in person. Normally, our friends do like our images because they are our friends on social media. So they like our work, regardless if it's pathetic, regardless if it's average. They just like it because they are our friends. But getting endorsement or getting appreciated feedback from someone who who doesn't know you, it's a real deal. It's a real challenge, and all it comes from composition. For me, composition is the most difficult thing to explain. Is the most difficult thing to go with. I was shooting sunset 2 3 days ago in Swaleheen, and I was just wandering around. First, before that, I was on Facebook Live for 2 hours, Facebook Live, and I was just talking about different things about photography and all that. And after finishing the 2 hours Facebook Live session, I thought, okay, I have to go to the beach. Before that, I was just wandering for 2 hours while I was on Facebook Live to find something interesting to shoot, and I wasn't able to get anything. Then, after getting tired of driving around in Ras Al Khaimah, and I decided, okay, let me stop by to the beach. Maybe I'll most probably we found something pleasing at the beach. And I went there and I saw sun start getting down. And I know that I have to shoot the sunset. But how? I was just curious that I wish the horizon was not so uh, dusty so I can get a clear sun touchdown at the horizon, and fortunately I got it. But that's a simple sunset anybody can do using a telephoto lens. How to make it more interesting? That was the thing. And I saw few guys were fishing, and I just start making the composition. Now the thing about sunrise and sunset at the horizon is they just go quick, very quickly. Like this, if this is the horizon and the sun is getting down and down and down, so the moment it touch to the horizon and it start getting down all the way, below the horizon, it takes less than 2 minutes. So I have to make a compelling composition while I was watching the sun in just 2 minutes. And I was also have to watch my surroundings because people think that if I'm using a big telephoto lens in a public places, they think that, oh, I'm some kind of guy paparazzi who wants to shoot public or female at the beaches. That's what people think normally if you are a family guy. So I have to take this thing into consideration and while I was shooting. So for 2 minutes, in the next 2 minutes, I knew that I have to make one decision, either to quit because there were too many people around me, or I have to keep shooting. And so I decided, forget it, let's keep shooting. And I was focusing on the guy who were fishing at the seaside and make this composition. Now, if you apply the rule of third, maybe you will find a rule of third applied in that composition, but the sun is not somewhere at the top or at the, we have, when we apply the rule of third, we have four intersections. The sun is not within any of the intersection. The sun itself is right in the middle. I purposely did that. For me, when I saw the mountains, they were not able to be coming into the frame. First, I have to define the aspect ratio. In what aspect ratio I have to keep the image in post-processing. And then I knew that it will be 16 by 10 or 16 by 9 because the sky was plain, there was no cloud. So putting an extra space on the top of the frame is going to be useless. So let's keep water into the frame. So for that, the aspect ratio automatically goes to 16 by 10 or 16 by 9. 16 by 9 is kind of a too narrow for me from top and bottom, so I thought, okay, I will go with 16 by 10. That's already decided before I took the shot. And then I compose the shot and I start taking it at a different zoom range from 380 all the way to 500. And literally between 300 to 500 of focal length, my composition was different because in 300 I was getting more foreground water into the frame. That changes the entire composition. That changes the entire focus of interest into the frame. And I was start struggling. And the sun is still keep going down and down. And that's all happening in 2 minutes. It was very interesting experience for me because I was fighting with the nature, with the surrounding, with the focal length, with the people, and with the sunset at the same time. And I have to make an image out from it. I have to compromise on something. Composition is also about compromising. I heard this thing long ago that composition is not what you are including into the frame. The best composition is you have to decide what you have to exclude from the frame. So I excluded the foreground water from the frame. It's very interesting to see what you are excluding from the frame because that impacts your image. It's not what you are including into the frame, it's what you are excluding or taking out from the frame. I see my compositions, even in the bird photography, more kind of artistic rather than realistic. For some reason, rule of third so much stuck into my mind that I see the world and a rule of third. And rule of third is one of the most basic and one of the most broken rule in the history of photography. But the way I saw different examples in the book that I read, I found that in order to break the rules, you have to know them first. And I broke that rule of putting the subject in one of the intersection. And I put the sun right in the middle, neither at the one of the intersection of the rule of third in this image. So the whole idea of sharing all this is that composition is very difficult, and composition defines how you see the world, how you think about the world, and how you want others to see your vision. My composition now is it's more simplified and it's more defining my style, regardless the genre. That's what I was thinking yesterday actually that that's why I'm making this video today. That why my images are more refined when it comes to composition. It's all because I start. It basically reflects my mind. It basically reflects me. One of my friends told me after seeing my work that there are too much loneliness in your work. Another guy who saw my feed, my photography feed, he told me that there is no consistency in your work. It's chaotic. Both of them were right. Because I don't feel like sharing the same type of image back to back. Like if it's a portrait, the next image I'm going to share is not going to be portrait. It's going to be landscape. And the next image will be sunrise or sunset. And the next image will be any random thing. And the next image will be black and white. And the next image will be bird. And the next image will be product photography. You never know. Because I learned that if you share same kind of work back to back, it loses the interest. The next image will lose its interest. Because you already seen the similar type of image before. So the viewers are not going to pay much attention on your next image because it's just like the same, like before. And that's what I believe. I could be wrong, but that's it. But again, when it comes to composition, I highly recommend you guys to read those 3 books from the same author. I'll put the link somewhere into the description of this video. Just go through it. The books, I basically bought the e version through Kindle. The Kindle is the free app for the tablets, iPad or any tablet. So from the Kindle you can buy these books. I highly recommend to read those books, and I'm not getting anything by recommending this book. Is that I'm only sharing with you my honest experience about these 3 books, that these 3 books basically changed the landscape of my photography, how I see the world now. My composition has been improved thanks to these books. And these books basically help me to refine my style of composition that I do, regardless of the genre. golden ratio, rule of third, rule of odd. When you take the image, you usually don't think about these rules. You just try to capture the image, you try to capture the moment, especially when it comes to sports action wildlife. Your instinct basically kicks in when you are looking through the viewfinder, try to capture the frame. And that instinct is basically developed over the years of practice that you do. So if I keep getting the subjects into the rule of third, it means that I have done so much rule of third that even in sports action wildlife, I will be doing it. It automatically kicks in into my composition because it's stuck in my head. And I discovered that while I keep practicing that rule of third, I discovered that I can make pretty good images out from it. I don't remember when the last time I used any golden ratio or rule of odd or an empty space. Yeah, I did use empty space for the wildlife. This the image. So, yep. It's very interesting to see how the composition can make or break your image. Like I said, I made a video earlier on this channel, and I mentioned that there are three things which can make your image: light, composition, and colors. If you know how to blend these three items together in a proportional way to make any compelling image, then that's the best thing that you can do. Else, there's so much to say about this only composition part, but I'm trying to minimize and summarize those things in this video as possible. I just would like to share with you my experience, how I changed from average to kind of a compelling images, and all because I just improved my composition in the end of the day. And it has nothing to do with the gears. I'm still using 40-year-old, 45-year-old lenses, 13-year-old DSLR, sometimes mirrorless. I'm still using the gear, and gear now doesn't affect my output because I know how to get the best out from an old gear. I know their limitation. That's where my technical learning helped me. But in the end of the day, what matters is how good your image is. It doesn't matter what gear you used. It doesn't matter your eye autofocus of your camera is superior. It doesn't matter how sharp, edge to edge sharp your images are using whatever the lens, expensive lens you use. What matters is how good your image in the end of the day. If it's average, then what's the point of having all those gears? Expensive gears. What's the point of having the best eye autofocus if you are only a landscape photographer? I'm shooting this video with Z5 with 85 1.8 lens. I'm purposely shooting it with that. It's very interesting to see how people just I used to be one of those guys in the past that people keep talking about the gears rather than focusing on the composition or elements which can make or break an image. And I was one of those guys who keep talking about gears, gears, gears. But after reading these books, I realized I was wrong. And now I'm all about making aesthetically pleasing images. It doesn't matter what gear I'm using or you are using. Yeah, last night I just compiled an image which I took from the crop sensor Z30. Z30 entry level with the kit lens. Just composition. I focused only on the composition. I hope you like this video, and I'll see you guys in future with some new content. Till then, take care. Bye.